Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the live version of Talking MMT. I'm your host, Calvin Taylor, and I'm here with Jeff Epstein, who is on Twitter at activist #MMT, and also does is the originator of Introduction to MMT on Facebook. Is that right?
I didn't exactly hear, but I've been working on an introduction presentation. If
No,
that's
I mean
that's
on Facebook. You run a
yeah, I administer. Yeah. I'm a moderator for the Facebook group Intro to MMT. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, good. And that's actually how. No, that's cool. That's how we actually met as far as that part goes. Because I, being so new to the concept of MMT, which is to me right now is more a practice because of just in past legislation that both Republicans and Democrats have both legislated in regards to tax relief for the rich. They know about MMT. They just don't use it in the right direction, in my opinion, anyway. Mm-hmm. But what got you involved in MMT, and what's your background?
Well, thanks for having me on. Nice to finally meet you. So my name's Jeff Epstein. I host a podcast called Activist MMT. I am the moderator for that group. I been studying MMT for 3 years, and I discovered it because of Bernie, not from Bernie, but because of him. So my introduction to economics was his awful pay for document in 2016, How Are You Going to Pay for It, which is still on his website. And I memorized it. I mean, I never really knew. I mean, I just cared about Bernie. I really didn't know about economics or anything. I never followed it or read about it or anything. I never followed politics for that matter. And so I would debate people. I gave a presentation on Bernie. I called it Bernie 101. And it was just about Bernie. But like a lot of it was, fighting people over how we're going to pay for it. I memorized that document. And so for the next 2 years, he lost. And for the next 2 years, I'm asking, so why don't we have these things? He says that we should have them. We've been talking about them for a century or longer. So why don't we have these things, healthcare and education and all these things? And I kept asking that question. And then a friend, Jeff Ginter, said, I was talking with him about some local politics thing. And he said, you need to understand how the federal economy works. And I said, okay, whatever. And so he spoke to me on the phone for a good hour or two. And I didn't understand it, but I knew it was a big deal. And so that was the first time I ever heard of MMT, was that private phone call. And then he was involved with Real Progressives at the time. And so over the next month, he and I did 2 live streams where he just continued introducing me to MMT, and I would ask questions, and it was pretty exciting. So Real Progressives was a big part of it. Jeff got me involved in that. I started doing my own. I created a presentation to introduce people to MMT. Very, very, very primitive, but I did it every week. Every single week was the same thing, except I would try and make it better and better based on feedback. And then eventually, I introduced it to Graham Elwood. And his audience, he's a YouTuber, a comedian as well.
Yeah, I'm a fan of his. I haven't watched him in a while, but I'm a fan of his, and I also understand that he was one of the unfortunate victims of the 2008 crash.
Yes,
I believe he lost his home during a whole debacle.
Yes, because we met because of MMT, a couple years ago, I interviewed him for the podcast called Historically, and he told his whole story about how he was foreclosed upon and how that changed him as a comedian. And maybe I can give you a link for that for the show notes, the description. Okay. So I just started really aggressively learning it, and I just read whatever I could, and I eventually got into academic papers, and then I like sharing what I've learned, and eventually that became what is now my podcast, which has been going for well over a year now. September 2019 was my first episode.
Now, what was the name of the podcast?
Activist #MMT. Activist MMT, spelled activist #MMT. And
is that Anchor, or where can people find
it's
that?
on pretty much every platform, but if you follow me on Twitter, my pinned post is always the most recent episode. But I can give you some links if you want to put them in the description or wherever you think. Yeah, it's on pretty much every platform. I mean, I work on it on Libsyn, but Libsyn automatically shares it out to like SoundCloud and iTunes, and I don't even know what it does.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing with Anchor. Anchor does the same thing.
Okay, maybe it probably shares it to Anchor as well. I'm honestly not sure, but I could figure it out. But I do everything through Libsyn, but Libsyn automatically does all this other stuff. So
exactly, yeah, and it's weird. You brought up Bernie Sanders, and I voted for him in 2016 and 2020, and then when he dropped out of the race and almost immediately backed Biden. I then went to the Green Party, and I was promoting the Green Party and Howie Hawkins and all them. Then I started digging a little deeper into Bernie Sanders and remembering that Bernie Sanders, who was independent when he was running for office, but as a Democrat, I realized that he knows that the Democrats are a private institution. They literally they are a corporation, and for him to run as a candidate for them just tells me that either he's just trying to follow the crowd, or something else is going on there. But when you brought up Bernie Sanders, that reminded me of an interview that Warren Mosler had, I think, with the Democratic Party in Florida. And I believe he came up with a story where he was trying to go and talk to Bernie about MMT and fiscal policies that could actually help people. And apparently, Bernie Sanders' representative said that Bernie Sanders was a fiscal conservative. Is what I think is what Warren Mosler said during that interview. I think you'd have to go back and try to look up the interview he had with the Democratic Party in Florida. I thought that was kind of odd, but at the same time made a little bit more sense. But yeah, so who is your biggest influencer in learning MMT?
My biggest influence in learning MMT? Oh my gosh, I couldn't answer that. I've so many people have influenced me, down from just regular people just giving me feedback. I mean, the people on Intro to MMT and Modern Monetary Theory for Progressives, all that has been a huge source of my learning, is just dialoguing with people like myself trying to learn just like I am. They're a huge source of my learning, and then we all rely upon the academics and the economists. And I mean, I could list so many sources of all their authors of who's inspired me. I could never narrow it down like that.
Okay, no, I understand completely as far as that. I recently took the online course of X-Ed, I believe, Bill Mitchell.
Oh, you took edX? You took edX as well?
Yeah, I was the one. Nothing. I was making a joke. I was the one person. No,
oh my gosh. I'm pretty. I actually heard Bill say that there was like 3,600 people that took that course or something like that.
Yeah, so I think I was one at about 3 million. No, I don't know about that. No, I took it, but unfortunately, I didn't have the money at the time to complete it with the $46 or I think it was $49 for the certification. But I at least completed it.
That's great.
And
I took that course, and I did spend the $50 to get you get a certification, but you also had the opportunity to take quizzes at the end of every week.
Yeah.
They were not easy. Oh my gosh, they were not easy. And the course itself, even without the quizzes, the course itself was really intense, intense. I was shocked. I was shocked at just how intense it was. It was not just, read a couple things and watch or whatever. It was like a good, 4 hours at least every week of having to watch and read all that stuff. And then, then the quizzes at the end, if for those who took that as well. I didn't know, I just saw a bunch of comments. So I didn't really realize of who specifically was there, because 3,600 people, but that's great. Yeah. So you took it as well. What did you think about it?
Well, let's see. Sometimes the way they did it was I was expecting a lot more quizzes or at least tests to see how well I'm doing. But when I would see the progress, it would say like no troublesome answers. I'm like, okay, well that's a positive thing, but I mean, where do I need to fix myself if there are some troublesome answers? And it didn't really give me that as far as that part goes. And maybe I should have paid for it, and I would have found out. Who knows? But I didn't know that that starting in the 30s is when we got out the gold standard internationally, and we didn't get out the gold standard until domestically until the 70s. I didn't know there was a huge difference there until I went through that.
I very vaguely know this. I believe that we went off the gold standard domestically in like the 30s.
We went
after the Great Depression or right in the wake of the Great Depression is when we went off the gold standard domestically. I mean, this is vague. This is my best understanding, and I don't.
But no, I understand. If I got this right, I think that it was Debbie Telton. I believe it was her lecture. Not Stony Brook, but a different one, a different place. She does many. But I believe she said domestically we got off it in '71 with Richard Nixon, but we got off of it on internationally in the 30s.
I think it's opposite. I think it's opposite. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that domestic was back in, whether it was the 30s or 40s, I'm not exactly sure, but I think it was I'm guessing 33. That was domestic, and then in '71 is indeed, I know that this is true. 71, 73 is when internationally we got the other countries stopped pegging to the dollar, which stopped pegging to gold.
Okay. You see, this is why I try to interview more people who are into MMT so I can learn. Other than reading the obviously the book.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard. I mean, you get the general gist. I mean, the details are hard. There's so many details and years and stuff. It's not easy to grasp.
Yeah, well, I used to this channel has gone through so many different changes, names, and platforms, or not platforms, but we have done it. I started with Green Autistic Progressive. I am autistic, so I mean, this is basically my way of being able to show the autistic portion of my brain. So MMT, and I went through. freecodecamp.org for a responsive web development degree, so I got that as well. But I didn't get the gist of like the bigger versions of graphics and all that, so whatever. But it's still basics.
Okay.
Anyway, so I forget the point of that. I think the point I'm trying to make is this channel has gone through so many different reincarnations of my personality and what I've learned as far as politics and all that stuff. That's when I got into MMT. I'm like, okay, so
So actually, I wanted to. So I guess you're telling it now, but how did you? I wanted to ask you how you got into MMT. Yeah.
That's what I was trying to bring up, because I don't particularly remember, because this channel has gone through so many different ways of me to grow as a person. I think it was after Bernie Sanders, then after Howie Hawkins, then I learned of MMT. I'm not sure if it was the Real Progressives or if I just happened to look up Bill Mitchell or Warren Mosler. I think it was Warren Mosler and Debbie Telton.
Okay.
When I was like,
so pretty recent.
Yeah, like maybe 4 or 5 months ago.
Oh, really recent.
So I'm like really new to it. But but a lot of the basics make sense to me. So I was trying to also answer like these questions, like how is the rich population able to get all these tax incentives, and yet nobody is asking how they're paying for it. But yet they ask how they're going to pay for Medicare for all and the $50 minimum wage and all that other stuff. So it became all more of a answering these physical questions of mine. And learning the fact that MMT is basically a lens of how the right way, in my view, of how to look at the economics of basically the world.
Mhm.
and then realizing that as far as Venezuela goes, they messed up by borrowing in foreign debt. That's how they mess up as far as their own currency.
I
They
would
are.
I would sorry.
Good? No, go
I would
ahead.
just say, I mean, yeah, Venezuela messed up. I mean, you could say that they messed up, but I don't know, but I'm pretty confident that it wasn't just messing up. It was also being coerced to mess up.
Oh yeah. No. Yeah, I completely get that. Yeah, but I'm
Yeah,
saying as far as regards to like the currency and devaluing it, it's because they borrowed in foreign currency.
right. Because they were screwed into doing so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And
that's
I don't know the details. I just know that that's kind of the, what Fidel Kaboob's work is kind of all about, is that,
yeah.
yeah, they made these bad decisions, but we have no idea what's behind the scenes to cause them to make that bad decision. Was it just they didn't know better, they could have done better, or were they being screwed in the background, or corruption, or who knows what.
I can only guess as to people who are in charge of the inner workings, not necessarily the people in charge, but the people who run the oil industry portion of that. The regulators there. They may have gotten paid off by foreign gas and oil companies, stuff like that. That's what I can think of in regards to that.
Good a theory as
So,
any.
yeah, exactly. And what do you think of the Brexit situation in Europe? And when that first happened, my first thought is they're going to basically ransack the NHS, and that sounds like exactly what happened.
I'm honestly not nearly as familiar as I should be, and actually, I'm planning on taking Dirk Ent's class. I am already signed up to take Dirk Ent's class, a German economist, in July, and he's doing an MMT course. I forget the name of the university, but he's doing an MMT course, an online MMT course in July on MMT through a Eurozone lens. So I would hope that after I take that course, that I might be able to better answer that kind of a question.
No worries. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think the original plan was for this conversation was kind of get more into what got you involved in MMT and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I like focusing on the academic side and trying to build my understanding of MMT kind of proper. And we were talking in the private chat of what we were going to talk about, and you brought up a lot of issues that are very interesting issues that I just happen to not follow. And it's like there's two things. There's like the academics creating the tools creating the knowledge base and the tools that people can use. And then there's the activist side, which take those tools and use it to do stuff. And the issues that you brought up of like Brexit and the stuff I heard you talk about on some other videos with George Soros and some other things. I don't happen to follow those, but that seems to be kind of taking the knowledge and applying it more.
Okay, well, do you know anything as far as Janet Yellen and the possibility of a global tax? Anything? Do you have any opinions on that?
Janet Yellen and what?
And a global tax.
Global tax. That's the first I'm hearing about it. Tell me about it.
Well, apparently, Janet Yellen is trying to negotiate with other countries to have a global stabilized tax as far as business and I think export and importing. So that's why I was trying to ask you. Okay, so you don't.
That's the first I'm hearing. I'd like to hear more about that. I can't even conceive of what that would mean. A global tax where we have multiple currencies. So I need to better understand what that means.
I think that would entail trying to make it harder for companies to try to outsource their jobs to other countries in order to make a better profit here.
Okay.
Well, I'm kind of new about that too. I'm just kind of thinking about that also.
Interesting. I will say that I do not, the little that I know about Janet Yellen, I do not think very highly of her. So, if that's her idea, I'm gonna come into it skeptical. But I need to learn more about it. So,
yeah. Let's see. Was there anything else you wanted to provide to the conversation? Like anything else to plug? I know you have you're a limited time right now.
I have a good 10 more minutes if you'd like to keep talking. I I have my podcast. Please listen to my podcast. I'm working on an introduction presentation, an hour-long presentation, and I'm pretty much stabilizing, and I'm pretty much going to be doing it as an episode of my podcast, and I'm going to do it for Graham Elwood and his audience as well. I wish it would be something I could not perform. I wish it to be something that I could present, kind of, in big halls to a whole bunch of people. I don't see that happening, but the experience of creating it was really enlightening, and I'm very happy with it, and I think it's good for what it is. I'm excited to take the course with Dirk later this year, and the edX course was one heck of an experience. And go ahead, what?
Oh, no, I was going to say that the online course you were talking about, the edX, that was kind of fun, but at the same time, like, you learn how much other people think they know about certain subjects, and then you get to the point where you know enough about that subject, you're able to actually correct them. I found that a little bit. I'm going, okay, that's kind of weird. Okay, I know a little bit more about, I think. So I re-look up the information I know and try to verify that. But maybe I should have asked you this in the first place, and probably, can you give it a synopsis of what MMT is?
Whoa. Okay. Sure.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I probably should have asked you that at the beginning of it, after the background, but
no, it's all good. It's all good. All good. What is MMT? Well, I just want to respond to what you just said about edX, which is even the deficit myth. I read the deficit myth after I had been in this for 2 years at that point, or 2.5 years or something. At that point, I think it was 2 years. And that book is written for lay people. The book is written for people who know nothing. And I got a lot out of it after having studied for 2 years myself. I got a lot out of that book and this edX course as well. I didn't know a lot of that stuff, GDP and real GDP and the output gap and stuff. I didn't know any of that stuff. Oh my gosh. I was in shock. I was in shock with how intense it was a great course. That was my first official as possible economics course that I've ever taken. What is MMT? MMT is a lens that you look through to see the economy as it actually is. And you had Steve Grumman on. I don't know when he was on, but he was recently on, and he had a great background picture where there were glasses behind him.
In the middle,
around the glasses were blurry, and the glasses themselves made things very clear. And that's what MMT is. It's a lens through which to see the economy as it actually and already is. And it basically opens the curtain behind the Wizard of Oz, or exposes the Wizard of Oz as a frail old man pushing scary buttons and making loud sounds. And it shows that the economy is really not that complicated. And at its core is not that complicated. And it also shows that money is just I don't exactly know how to say it. Money is something to hide things behind. Not necessarily, yes, you could do something deliberately. I mean to say that everything is politics. Mm-hmm. The real things are what matters. It's like I'm obviously I hadn't prepared to say this, but real things are what matters. Money is not what matters. Money is a tool that is to use to make decisions of what you want to do in the real world. And so when people talk about money, they're really distracting from the real world. It's really distracting from the real world. So when we talk about, how much spending could the government do before we reach inflation? It's like, what? That question doesn't make sense, because what do you want to do? If you spend that money on good stuff, then that's not harmful. We could spend a lot. If you spend that money on bad stuff, then even spending a small amount is a lot. And having this conversation as if government spending is a monolith is really just a distraction from the real world stuff that we must be discussing. Climate, dealing with the climate crisis, education and healthcare deficits, like in Stephanie Kelton's book in one of the final chapters, a deficit of climate, a deficit of democracy, a deficit of healthcare. Those are the things that matters. And we know for sure that we can spend for those right now safely. And because, how do we know? Because economists have, MMT economists have done studies that show that the Green New Deal, bold Green New Deal, is perfectly doable and possible, and not just doable and possible, but incredibly beneficial, and not just incredibly beneficial, but desperately needed. And the same thing is true with healthcare and with canceling student debt and other things. So it's like when you take your time and talk about the money, that's really just a distraction, in my view, a lot of the time, from talking about what is desperately needed right now and what we clearly could do right now. And money is not the issue.
Yeah.
That was all over the place, but I don't know. Hopefully you got something out of that.
No problem. As you were talking about that, or as you were saying that, I was thinking of possibly a different way of saying what you just said. Basically, I had roommates a while back with cable and obviously rent and all that stuff. And one of the roommates said, "I'd much rather spend this on this money on cable instead of rent." And obviously, for me, rent and the apartment would be like earth, and cable would be like the resources that is on earth. You have to save, you have to pay rent and save the earth, and in this case, that's the apartment. Then to pay for the other one, because without this one, you don't have this one. So I think that kind of goes along, coalesces with what you were saying. We need Mother Earth to be around in order to have the resources to be able to capitalize it on regards to capitalists and other things of that nature. So we have to have one in order to be able to sustain the other.
Makes sense. And I actually, you're reminding me, I just spoke with, I just recorded an interview with someone named Bill Peoples, who is a co-founder of Deficit Owls, and he gave me the really cool analogy of how do I know I can afford something? And so he gave this analogy of, it's late at night, the stores are closed. How do I know if I can afford to make a ham sandwich? I go down to the kitchen. Do I have bread? Do I have ham? Do I have cheese? Do I have a plate? I can afford to make a ham sandwich. It has nothing to do with money.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with money, and and that's it. I mean, what we want to do on the grander scale with the things that you just said, and climate change and healthcare and all that stuff, is really has very, very little to do with money. You can think of money as, I think of money as, number one, power. Money is power. It is power. Who they give money to is who they want to have power. Who they withhold money from is who they do not want to have power. And money is also decisions. So who they give money to is who they want to allow to make decisions. And who they withhold money from is who they do not want to be able to make decisions. So if you think of, instead of thinking of money as, gold or commodity or whatever, money is power and it is decisions. So
pretty much, yeah. Who was it? I heard that MMT and money spending is only constrained by policymakers, like a Joe Manchin or
our imaginations.
To anybody that's in office. Unfortunately, that's the reason why I look at it as a way of getting to. This is where the money portion of my brain and the political portion of my brain kind of collect each other as far as the part goes. Because in order to be able to, I used to do a thing where I would call out the very definition of socialism and communism. The very definition, not the countries, not the parties that claim to be that, but the policies that make them what they are, for the people, by the people, and all that other stuff. So I was looking at MMT, and a lot of Warren Moses doesn't want to look at it in a political sense, but unfortunately, it kind of has to be in a political sense, because the political parties are the people who are in charge. Unless we give ranked choice voting, that's a different thing. That make the policies that make sure that the money goes to are focused in different areas to help more people come up, but in the financial world. Something like that, yeah. Anyway.
Well, I think that MMT shows that what really matters is politics and not money. And money is I don't want to say veil, because that's the wrong term, but money is a tool to hide politics.
Blinder.
yeah, whatever, a blinder. It's something to obscure that everything that we have to do, everything that we are, is politics. It is a push and pull decision between, who wants to do something and who wants to do something different, and that the money is simply whoever is in power gets to choose what we do. I mean, it's MMT shows that everything is politics. Everything is human decisions, and our money is simply a reflection, a consequence of those human decisions. And where where too many people think that the politics is a consequence of the money. Yeah. Where the money is like the center of the universe, where there's some scientific natural thing where regards money, but it's actually, money is a consequence of our politics. It's what we use to express our politics and who we want to have power, because politics is really, it is a tool to manipulate others out of power so you can have more power. I mean, that's really what it is.
Well, look at what has happened in the past 40 plus years. Like, you've had more people, more corporations adding more money to politicians, and them winning and making those policies for the same people that contribute to their winning of those votes.
They've essentially become our government. These corporations have essentially become our government.
And this is why,
because their hands are reaching around to our politicians through donations and lobbying and all that stuff, and they have essentially become our governments.
Yep, very much. Yeah, exactly. Especially through something United. I forgot what the name of it is right now, but anyway.
Citizens United?
I do. That's what it is. Yes. My brain is kind of dead right now.
It's all good.
Let's see. Now, where is your podcast again?
You can follow me on Twitter, Activist MMT, or I'm also on Facebook, Activist #MMT-podcast, I think it is. I'm a moderator on Intro to MMT, which is, I highly recommend the group. There's also MMT for Newbies, which is another really good group. So Intro has grown so large that it's kind of less of an intro now. It's kind of a little more intermediate. So we created, my fellow, the admin, I'm a mod, he's an admin. He created MMT for Newbies, which is a very good group for truly people with, that want to ask questions. Beginning questions, and actually the people who answer are kind of curated. We only encourage people who really kind of know and who wants to be patient, specifically offer to be patient to answer those questions. But yeah, I kind of lost what I was answering, but I think I.
Are you interviewing anybody upcoming?
I just interviewed someone who is extremely active on MMT for Newbies, and I'm editing that now, which is great. Her name is Katrina Pilver. I am interviewing in a month from now. I'm interviewing the authors of the UK Exchequer paper. They were on MMT podcast recently. Stephanie Kelton wrote "Can Taxes and Bonds Finance Government Spending," her big paper, and that's the reality of the United States economy. These three gentlemen wrote basically the equivalent paper for the UK of how the UK economy works, and it's a pretty in-depth paper. So I'm reading that now, and I'm going to be talking to them next month, and actually I'm hopefully going to be interviewing each of them individually as well, which I think will be really cool.
I've been trying to get Mr. Boob. He's located here in Ohio. I've been trying to.
Oh, you're in Ohio. I actually didn't know where you lived. Okay.
Yeah. I'm in Ohio, from Seattle. Okay. But anyway, they pressed me out. Anyway, they pressed me and my fiance out, I should say. But I've been trying to get him on the show. He hasn't responded in my email, but whatever. It's all good for now. I'll just keep talking about it.
He's so great.
I'll just keep talking about this and Warren Moses' book and my opinions on the market and who's talking all kinds of stuff about MMT and all that other stuff. In fact, I'm going to be doing something later on also to express my opinions on Rick Scott and his wanting to bring back up the debt ceiling BS. I'll just say it that way.
Well, that actually that's the whole pretending that money is most important when he's really hiding his political decisions behind that false, economic need that we must have a debt ceiling, when he's really saying, I don't want to have to even think about having to make decisions that might help people that will take power away from me. That's how I see it. I mean, that's, that's I'm not, this is not MMT. This is my opinion, but he's using that economic falsehood of needing a debt ceiling, when it's really him saying that is just a very easy way for me to get away with not having I can withhold from people and not look like a jerk. I can blame it on the debt ceiling instead of having to blame it on my morality.
Well, I think he's already become a jerk considering the fact he had to resign from a private corporation in Florida before running for governor there, because him and his private corporation defrauded Medicare and Medicaid from recipients there, and he still won. I don't know how many times he still won governor, but he still won that. I'm like, I'm sorry, but how not there can you be if you're going to be voting for someone who literally stole from you?
Mm-hmm.
So
doesn't sound good.
Yeah. Anyway, that's whatever. But I like to thank you for being on. So you're my first MMTer that I've actually had a chance to interview, and I appreciate you being on.
Well, thank you for having me. I mean, I've been studying for 3 years. I'm not an academic. I think I know a pretty good amount, but I'm definitely not an academic. I don't speak for the project, but I like introducing the topic to people. So it was nice meeting you, and I'm sure I'll see you back on intro, and thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you. And yes, by the way, this will actually be on my podcast as well later on once I'm able to get all this uploaded to the YouTube channel.
Great. Well, please put links on Twitter or send them to me or whatever.
Twitter me those links for me to put up, and I'll once this is ready on the actual channel, I'll put them in the tag section.
Sounds good. I look forward to hearing it.
Okay. Well, thank you. Happy Friday. I hope you have a good weekend.
You too.
And wear those masks if your state mandates it, or if you just want to do it, just kind of keep yourself healthy.
Okay. I have it at the front door ready when I walk out of here. So.
Actually, and I got new merchandise for my Teespring account down below on the screen. So
for this, really, you have merchandise for this? You have a mask? You have a COVID mask for this show?
Well, no, for my former show, Green Nuts is a Progressive, but I'm trying to get one for Talking MMT. I'm trying to do it, but yeah. Anyway, it's the first time I've actually been able to come up with merchandise of any kind, so I'm kind of stoked about that.
Okay. Well, good luck. Good luck. I hope it goes well for you.
Thank you. Let me know if you do you have any merch out?
Merchandise? No, I have a Patreon. Please support my Patreon if you like my podcast, you like my presentation. Oh, and one more thing, I have a big collection of resources to learn MMT.
Okay.
It's I can give you a link. It's citizensmedia.tv/MMT. Citizensmedia.tv/MMT.
I think I saw that on one of the two Twitter accounts you do have. I'll click on it and save it, and then I'll put it into the tag. Text me, DM me all the information when we put up, and I'll do it later on.
Sure. I'll do it. I'm about to go and do something. As soon as I'm done, I'll do it too. Is that okay? Is that good?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you for your patience. I hope you have a good night and have a good weekend.
You too. All right, I'll see you later.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Yeah.